And good evening to all of our viewers across the United States and around the world. This is the Scanner Guys. I'm Jonathan Higgins, joining you tonight from our studios in Cincinnati, Ohio. So we've got a great show planned for you. As many of you know, here in the United States, tomorrow we'll be celebrating Thanksgiving. So why not do some frequently asked questions on this Thanksgiving Eve show? A lot of times this show has been a Ask the Scanner Guys. I thought this year we would do something a little bit different. If you haven't had a chance, take a look at your email. We just sent out an email earlier this evening, uh, from our email list. So if you signed up, check your email. There's some cool stuff going on in the email, of course, promoting this show. And we actually have a coupon code, which I'm going to tell you about in a moment. So sit back and relax. If you're joining us for the first time, we are totally excited about this show. So if you're joining us for the first time, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we've got a great show. So let's start it off right now. So make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to the Scanner Guys on all of our social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at the Scanner Guys. Of course, you can shop our store, which we have a whole bunch of different merch there. And we actually have a sale going on. I'm going to tell you about that in a moment. And also, you can contact us through the website and sign up for our newsletter. So our newsletter is going to be able to tell you what's going on, if there's any interesting things that we need to pass along to you, any special programming and all that. Definitely sign up for the newsletter. All right, there is a theme tonight's show. As many of you spotted, I have the WKRP Cincinnati shirt on right now, and we have a turkey drop promo. So it is a really cool thing for Black Friday all the way to Cyber Monday. We have a 10% coupon. Just enter in turkey drop and you'll get 10% off your order. So it's a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale for us. And of course, the proceeds, the profits of the sale will go to us to be able to help with the streaming, hosting the website, and anything else that occurs, with the show. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. We also have the same promo going on for Train Aficionado. So if you're a fan of Train Aficionado, you can visit that website as well, trainaficionado.com. Go to the store. Same coupon code, Turkey Drop. Many of you that watch the Scanner Guys also watches Train Aficionado, so you can also get some swag over there as well. Don't forget to hit subscribe on both of the channels. We had a great interview a little bit ago with the producers and editors of the Empire Builder, the James J. Hill and the Great Northern Railway. They produced this phenomenal documentary, which you can check out on the Train Aficionado YouTube channel. By the way, our next Train Aficionado show live is Wednesday, December the 7th. So make sure you mark your calendar and join us for the next show. We would love to see you there as a part of the live audience. If you're not able to watch live, you can always watch on the channel as well. So we're talking about frequently asked scanner questions. So I'm going to try to answer as many questions from the audience tonight as much as I can. A lot of people are asking about the shirt. So we actually made this shirt custom made. So it's not something you can purchase, but here it is right here. The first annual WKRP Thanksgiving Day Turkey Drop. Many of you are fans of the show, know what this shirt is about. So certainly my new Thanksgiving Day shirt, of course, premiering it tonight on the Thanksgiving Eve. So let's take a look at the slide deck this evening. So we've got a lot of good stuff that we're going to talk about. Let's start it off. Frequently asked scanner questions. We get these occasionally, sometimes from our audience. Folks over at Scanner Master will get them as well. Any of the products that we talk about tonight, you can certainly purchase it directly from Scanner Master. And we have an affiliate link down below, which you can use. And of course, portion of those purchases will actually go to us, a little percentage of the sale. So certainly use that as well. That certainly helps us out here at these Scanner Guys. This is a question we get a lot. They want to be able to set up a railroad feed or an aviation feed on Radio Reference, or stream it to themselves, a personal feed. A lot of people like to do this. The best radios to be able to use this on is typically like a 996 or a 15, a BCT 15. Why? These radios have a record jack. It's an independent jack that's on there where the volume stays exactly at one level. It's independent, so you can adjust the volume on the scanner itself up or down, and it's not going to change anything on the record jack. So this is certainly a great thing if you're setting up a radio feed on Radio Reference, or you're setting up a private stream, the 15X or the 996 P2 would be great. Any of their older predecessors would be great as well. They all have that record jack. As you can see there, we kind of gave the landscape of all the jacks in the back of the radio. Of course, you have the antenna jack, the record jack, the external speaker jack, which I highly recommend if you're using an external speaker, which is several of them available through scannermaster.com. And of course, the power jack, which we're very familiar with, because you can't power the radio without that. What I've been using this for is I got one of those little Bluetooth transmitters on Amazon. It works great. It's got a transmitter receiver. I plugged it in the back of the record jack, and I got one of these Anchor speakers, and boy, does it work great. I'm able to carry this speaker around the house. I even put this in the bedroom. Unfortunately, I don't have antenna drops throughout the whole entire house. So basically, it's right here in the office. So I get great reception when I'm listening on the rooftop antenna. But unfortunately, if I'm using a scanner in another room, it's not connected to the rooftop antenna. So this was the solution here. So what I did is I bought a Bluetooth speaker. This Anchor one is great. And I also bought a Bluetooth transmitter receiver. They're not terribly expensive. Probably you get a decent one for about $30, 25 bucks or so. I'm sure the Amazon will have some Black Friday deals, but get one of those, hook it up to the back of the scanner, get one of these speakers, works great. So this can also apply to that. So if you've got, a spot where you're listening to the scanner and you're like, I want to be able to move this around the house, have a speaker that I can bring around with me, that's your solution right there. This is a question we get a lot. So most of you are familiar with phase 1 and phase 2 digital. And it's like, what does this mean? Phase 1 and phase 2 digital. So some of the older digital scanners only support phase 1. Of course, the newer breed of scanners support phase 2. What it means is phase 1, a frequency, a talk channel or a voice channel, can only support one conversation. With phase 2 digital trunking, that one channel can now support two conversations. So the great thing about it is your capacity when you're using a trunk system is basically doubled, where you only had a voice path on one frequency each because it was phase 1 digital trunking. It then, when you switch over to phase 2, there's now two voice paths, which is really, really great. I highly recommend, like if you're in the market for a digital scanner, definitely looking at a phase 2 scanner, whether you're purchasing it brand new from Scanner Master or you're looking on, like the Radio Reference classifieds. Start looking towards phase 2. Phase 2 is certainly becoming more and more common. And at least with phase 2, you're prepared for the future. The trunk system that you're monitoring right now, maybe only phase one. They may eventually upgrade to phase two, and then uh, down the path, they'll start switching things around. Now, the other cool thing about it is you may see a trunk system that's phase two capable. If you see under the talk groups, if you see a D, that means it's phase one. If you see a T, that means TDMA phase two. That means that talk group is, you need a phase two digital scanner, if that makes sense. So if you see a D on the next to the talk group, that means it's digital phase one. If you see the mode, the T, that means it's phase two. So even if you have an old phase one radio and you see all D's next to the talk groups you're monitoring, that basically means that you still could use a phase one scanner. A lot to it. Yeah. So the phasing, phase one and phase two, is basically the Cadillac, the molar roller type of systems. DMR and Next Edge do not use phase one and phase two. So not to be confused by that. So we're getting a lot of questions in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of slides, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to break out a format tonight and kind of go to some of these questions. So I think I've got a question here. Let's actually jump out real quick and answer a few questions here. Rhode Island. I'm so familiar with that system. Okay. So it sounds like, of course, Rhode Island has a site or two that's simulcast. So if you're using an SDS 100 or 200, that'll address that. If you're using a radio that's not that particular model, then less of an antenna is better. You're probably saying, what? Yes. We've talked about in past shows the paperclip antenna, the little paperclip antenna, sliding that into the pin, where the BNC antenna connection would go, or putting, like, maybe going back to from the rooftop antenna to a telescopic or a rubber duck or something of that nature. So with simulcast, basically there's multiple towers in the region. They're all a part of one site. They're all transmitting at the same time, the same frequencies. So when you're in the middle of this area, let's say you're right here and you got all these towers around you, your scanner is then receiving radio transmissions all at once. If you're kind of familiar with computer, how it's a binary code, zeros and ones. So a digital system, it transmits in zeros and ones. But think of that is your scanner is getting zeros and ones from one particular tower, and then it's getting zeros and ones from another tower. So it's getting at the same time because it's being transmitted on the same frequency. So your scanner is going, holy crap, I don't know what to listen to at this point. It's getting, as we talked about in previous shows, it's like putting the binary code into a ninja blender, and it's not able to decipher it. So what you end up getting on the scanner is blurp, 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 or it goes completely quiet. So I would try less of an antenna. If that doesn't work, the other option is a beam antenna. So when you aim a beam antenna at a particular tower, it kind of alienates everybody else. So that's another option. So maybe trying something as simple as going back to the old school rubber duck antenna on the scanner, or even using a telescopic or something small may help. The thing is with simulcast, if you're right in the dead center in the middle of two towers, it's going to create an issue. So you may want to look at something like an SDS, SDS 100 or 200 made by Uniden. Of course, that can be purchased from ScannerMaster. The other thing you could look at, if you're looking for something just to monitor that system, the Unication radios are not scanners, but they also work well on simulcast. So if you wanted to focus on that Rhode Island system, it's a bit of a beast to program, but it'll work very well on there. But if you're looking for a traditional scanner, SDS 100 and 200 would work the best. Let me take a look at some of these other questions in here. How come my TI is picking up my local? So your TX1 is picking up your local analog stuff for your county, and your SDS has the same stuff programmed into it. So I'm trying to gather the question here. Is there a follow-up? Okay, so here it is here, the follow-up. Okay, so there is a bit of latency. I think Joe Bearcat, if he's on, he can address this, but I'm going to try to explain it as much as I can. And you may, if you have multiple radios, you can try this. So the radio, remember I talked about binary code, zeros and ones. So there is a processor inside, and Joe Bearcat can back me up on this. A processor inside the SDS 100 and 200, which kind of processes everything and then it spits it out of the radio. And there's a bit of latency when it's doing this process, especially with digital. Basically, the radio is getting that binary code and then it's translating it and then it comes out the speaker essentially. So I've done this before. I've ran my SDS and like a comparison radio, like a Unication or a 536, and you'll get that latency on the radio. Even if you had a two-way radio, sometimes you have two police officers, two firemen with a digital radio, portable, and they're standing next to each other. Maybe a little latency in between the two radios, just how fast the signal's hitting it and how quickly the radio can process it. So that could be it. The other thing to keep in mind, I know you mentioned analog stuff. So of course, the SDS 100 and 200 were made for digital. So the audio quality on the TX1 may be a little bit better on the analog. Of course, the SDS 100 and 200 does pretty well in the analog, but a lot of people pick on the SDSs because it's phenomenal on digital. It's not so great on the analog. So I think that hopefully answers your question. It's just the radio trying to process that signal. Take a look at another question. Okay. All right. I'm going to be absolutely honest with you, Steve. I haven't owned this particular radio, so I don't know a lot about it. Somebody in the audience, if you've owned this radio and you're able to address this question to Steve, hit Steve up and answer this question. So what does the air filter do and how does it improve reception? Depending on the air filter, what it basically will do is kind of block out other signals that are creating interference essentially. And then of course an amplifier will of course bring in those signals. You already have a high-end AOR radio, and those are typically pretty sensitive. So I'm thinking, that you should have a good radio without doing a filter or an amplifier, because those radios, AORs, are very sensitive. I haven't owned one of those, but I've heard phenomenal things about them. Guys in the audience, if you've owned the AOR 8200, hit Steve up. I'll give him a little bit more feedback. Unfortunately, I'm not an expert at this particular radio. I've never owned one, so I don't know, if there's a particular, if the air band filter helps or hinders the signal, and if an amplifier would help as well. I mean, of course, I'm thinking the amplifier should help, but the best thing is the AOR 8200. I would say for the air bands, certainly keep that in mind. It looks like you're using it at an air show, so you should be able to receive it quite well because you're right there if you're at an air show. But guys, definitely pipe in with that. Take a look at this. Oh, wow. So there's multiple licenses for this particular channel, and you found a capacity plus system, which is only a one frequency system, but I ran that and the frequency is into the database multiple times. Now, is it this? The thing is, follow up questions. Is it the uh, same licensee who it's licensed to? What I would recommend for you is radio reference the forums. I would go to, the appropriate forum page and pose this question. Put the frequency down, let them know that you've looked on the database for the various licenses, and take a look there and see if somebody will pipe up and kind of give you some more information. Without knowing all the who, what, when, where, why, and all that, essentially, it's hard for me to decipher that. But yeah, definitely radio reference, find the appropriate forum page, pose your question there, and other people might chime in and may be able to point you in the right direction regarding that. Kevin, best indoor antenna for the 536 HP. A lot of people have that issue, not being able to put an antenna outside of your home. Rimtronics. Scanner Master sells a back of set Rimtronics antenna. You can give a try if you're monitoring like 800 megahertz. What I'll do is I'll pull it up on the website. Hold on one second. We'll take a look at this together. So antennas. I'll share my screen in a moment. I'm just trying to get this kind of. I'm just trying to find it. Hold on one second. I think it should pop up. What do they do? Change. Let's see. Let me see. What I'll do is I'll share my screen so you guys can be entertained as I basically go through the website. So let's take a look here. So we want to do. Let me just look here. We've got. I know they had. Of course, you're familiar with the telescopic antenna, which of course Scanner Master has that. I'm just trying to find this antenna. There's a couple of these here. These Spectrum Force mini window antennas. They cover UHF and 800 megahertz. I really haven't used these, so I'm not too sure how well they work. They're about $17.95, so it's not terribly expensive. So that certainly is an option if you're monitoring those bands. I want to find that antenna that the back of set. I'm trying to remember where that is. Portable base. Indoor. Here we go. Back of set. Here we go. This one here. If you were this is exactly the one I was looking for. So if you're monitoring 800, 700 megahertz strictly on this particular radio, this antenna works pretty well. It's an 800 megahertz Rimtronics antenna with BNC, and it's got that 45-degree angle. So you're able to put it on the back of the radio and stand it straight up. So this is definitely a good antenna to be able to use. Another antenna that I would recommend, and you're probably going to think you're crazy, but I've done it, is this antenna here. Yes, it's a mobile antenna, the Spectrum Force wideband antenna with mag mount and BNC. The great thing about it is it has 12 feet of coax cable. So if your scanner's here and the window's a little further away, you can basically sit this antenna on the windowsill. The coax cable is actually thin enough that you can actually snake it out the window and sit it on the windowsill on the outside if you can get away with that. You may want to get a little piece of metal for it to sit on to give it a little bit of a ground plane. And of course, it'll the mag mount will of course stick to that. But that's a couple of options. So this would be my wideband option. That other antenna that I showed you a moment ago would be the antenna if you're looking strictly for 700 and 800 megahertz. Hopefully that answers your question. If you want to try any of these antennas, use the affiliate link in the description, and of course, we very much will appreciate that. Let me look at some other questions here. So let me go back. Um, Thank you guys for bearing with me. You know, this is a live show, so so it makes it interesting. All right, Matt, we've answered your question. All right, Kevin, my question. I have been this. Okay, so there's going to be some guidelines on radio reference. It's been a while since I've submitted some frequencies. I know with a trunking frequency, it can take a little bit, um, take a little bit to be able to post it, but you need to be able to provide a ton of information. Of course, you know, the control channel, and then any of the other channels that your scanner is able to figure out if you're using, you know, any of the technology that's out there available, and of course who's on it, who's licensed to it. Typically you're going to have to take that frequency or control channel you found, find it in the FCC database and who it belongs to. Read the guidelines on how to submit information on radio reference, and then basically you're going to give them as much information as possible. The other thing too, the great thing about radio reference, the forums. Um, Let people know in your region that you've discovered this trunking system and you're trying to piece it together. Other people in your area are going to be, ooh, I want to be able to help you with this. So you'll start a thread going on radio reference with people saying, okay, I found these talk groups. And then I found, you know, more control channels for other sites. So Kevin, I would probably say, keep doing your searching. Maybe start a radio reference thread saying, you know, I found this control channel, brand new site. You know, get as much information as possible. Once you have compiled enough information, then you're able to submit it to radio reference, and then they're able to verify. And of course, you can link to, hey, I had a whole bunch of people in the forum section help me out with this. And you can put a link to that. And then, of course, the moderator will be able to look at that as well and say, okay, yeah, there's a lot of confirmed stuff right there. So definitely keep that in mind. Let's go rail fanning. Great that you're watching the show. P25 is basically for the molar roller type of systems, phase 1 and phase 2. So it's a little different from DMR. DMR is its own little thing with next edge as well. So that's that there. So I'll continue on. Not necessarily. The hex. So you. I'm just trying to think of. So that's the format of the talk group. So your scanner, when it's searching, is either going to be set up for hex or the other format. So it's going to be one or the other. So you have to look at the settings on your scanner and determine which way you have it. And I'm trying to remember on radio reference. Hold on one second. Let me look here. Of course, I'm trying to find the Portland, Maine trunking system. I love to pick on the Portland, Maine trunking system because you know why? It's a small regional system. So let me see where. Of course, it's not linked there. There it is. Okay. So Portland, Maine. Bear with me. I'm looking on my other screen. So, yeah, it's basically on radio reference. It's displayed as DEC, and it's also displayed as the HEX as well. You'll see on radio reference, but primarily we program in that DEC code on the scanner typically. Okay. Dave, you tried programming in DMR into the radio and it hears nothing. Okay. I know I'm going to state the obvious, but I want to make sure. If you have like a unit in radio, the DMR is a paid upgrade. So if you don't have the DMR paid upgrade, it will not hear anything. If you do have the paid upgrade, then I would take a look at the programming. Unfortunately, without having a two-way conversation over the phone, or it's hard for me to kind of diagnose the rest of it. But that may be something that you may want to uh, communicate to some, in the forums and radio reference, or give Scanner Master a call when they're open next week and see if they're able to give you some additional suggestions. Because the thing is, with this, it's a one-way, you typing to me and it's me trying to answer the question. But, if you're on the phone with somebody, I can ask follow-up questions. Let me continue on. Rick, oh, Western Mass. Boy, I love all the Massachusetts people. I'm a Massachusetts guy. I lived there for a good portion of my life. Living in Western Mass, looking for a DMR scanner for police and fire. What would you suggest? Okay. DMR is getting popular, certainly. And of course, you've got the Mass State Police trunk system out there, which is digital. You've got several different options. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen again, and we'll take a look at Radio Reference, not Radio Reference, at Scanner Master's website. So let's take a look. So we're going to basically look at digital scanners. Okay. So of course, if you're looking for a database scanner that's not as expensive as the SDS 100 and 200, you have the 436 and 536. Those will be able to work on DMR, but you need to get the DMR upgrade. So keep that in mind. DMR upgrade is needed. So that'll be a little bit more on top of this price here. Home Patrol 2, that's out. That does not do DMR, and there's no DMR upgrade there. SDS 100 and 200, cream of the crop. Some of the best digital radios that are out there right now. These will do it, but you need to get the update for DMR. So basically, you've got these two radios here and these two radios. We also have some clean slate options, which are these two from Uniden, which is the 996P2 and the 325. Yet again, DMR upgrade is needed for these radios. See a common trend here? The Uniden radios, they'll do phase 1 and phase 2 digital, but any of these other formats such as DMR, Pro Voice, and XDN are paid upgrades. So those radios will need it. Okay, one more option. And we hop over from Uniden to Whistler. So the Whistler TRX1 and TRX2 are able to decode DMR, but it's conventional DMR. It doesn't do DMR trunking so well. So if it's conventional, you may be able to get away with a Whistler, but keep in mind, if you're doing a trunking DMR system, the Unidens are going to be your best option. Once again, 996, 325P2, your clean slates, you need to get the DMR upgrade. The Whistlers will do DMR conventional, no upgrade. And then, of course, we've got the cream of the crop, the Uniden Home Patrol 1 and 2. DMR upgrade needed. As I mentioned, Home Patrol 2, DMR is out. All it does is phase 1 and phase 2 digital, the Motorola stuff. And then, of course, we got the 436 and the 536. Same thing. Database scanners, DMR upgrade is needed. I left out two radios. The Whistler 1040, 1065. Neither one of those will do DMR, and they only do phase one digital. They do not do phase two. That's why they're priced at $299.99. That is perfectly why they're priced at that level, because they're only able to do phase one. All right. Let me go take a look at the next question. Yeah, I mean, this must be a follow-up to the other question. I would definitely pose this on Radio Reference. They're going to be able to, somebody locally in that area is definitely going to be able to kind of assist with you. You're going to have to give them a little bit of information. They're going to program in their radio, and they're going to bounce back and forth with you and say, hey, yeah, this, this is this and this is that. All right, let me take another look at another question here. And I think Joe Bearcat kind of addressed it as well. I know one of our Joes is from Pennsylvania. We've got several Joes that watch the show, so they may be able to, one of those Joes may be able to address it. I know Joe Bearcat, I think, is in the audience right now. I haven't seen the actual live feed. I'm actually looking at just some of the questions. Okay, my public safety system is using the Harris simulcast, which is 1 tower less than a mile away. Should the STS? Okay. So, kind of the tattletale things when you're in a simulcast situation is the meter on your scanner. Well, I could switch back to me. Hold on one second. There I am. Will do this wonky thing, like it's getting full bars and it keeps fluctuating back and forth. It'll do that wacky thing, and then you'll get the hiccuping. So you're telling me that you're not getting it at all on your 996P2. I'm not too sure if you have a portable and you've tried it outside of your home just to see if the situation changes. The other question I would ask, are you using a rooftop antenna and you're still not getting it? The thing is I kind of want to make sure before you jump and get the SDS 200, I want to make sure that you can kind of get some signal on your 996P2. It may not be a beautiful thing. It may sound terrible, but like if it's wonky on the P2 and you're getting a pretty solid signal and it's a simulcast site, then your SDS will work. When you get an SDS, it will work fine. If you're not getting anything at all on your 996P2, you need to probably experiment a little bit. See if you can get some reception outside of the house. Maybe go up to the street and get closer to the tower. See if you can get some reception if you're able to. But yeah, the thing is, if you're getting some wonky signals because of simulcast on your 996P2, the SDS will address that. Certainly will. Continue on. Thank you very much for that question. What is a good antenna for the 436 HP brick building? Oh God, John, man, you've got everything going against you. A brick building, you're in the basement. Man, that's, as we always say, out and up, essentially. So brick, of course, is going to hinder the reception. You being basically in the basement is going to hinder reception. Is there any windows in this basement? If you have the ability to put an antenna on that windowsill, that might help. If you're able to get an antenna up and out, that might help. As for putting a different rubber deck antenna, I'm not too sure that's going to help you. You're going to need to change that environment. You need to get that antenna up and out. That's the thing. Being in the brick, you're down in the basement, you get that going on, and the brick is not helping things. So if there's a little window, I would recommend probably putting an antenna on there and see if the reception will improve. The other thing with your 436, if the reception improves drastically when you're out of the basement, then it's clearly the basement. So try to get an antenna by that window if there's a window in the basement. Hopefully that will help. As I mentioned earlier, you can get one of those Spectrum Force antennas, cheap, 20 some odd bucks with the mag mount. Put that on the windowsill in the basement, or if you're able to snake it out, put it out there, connect it up to your radio, and hopefully that should help. Unfortunately, you got the two things, being in the ground basically and the brick not helping. All right, boy, my Rhode Island friends are here tonight. DMR impacted by simulcast? No, DMR is basically DMR. Simulcast is basically towards the Motorola stuff, and that's their kind of thing. So you don't have to worry about with DMR worrying about simulcast. That's not shouldn't be a non-starter issue. All right, holy Toledo. I'm back on, with the back in the live chat. So I have two sections, give you kind of a behind the scenes look of, I have things that get starred for me and I look at those questions. So then I came back to the live chat. I'm like, holy Toledo. There was 70 some odd things there. Keep the questions coming. Since I think I got most of the questions there, I'm going to go back to the slide deck and we'll take a look at it a little bit more. And then if you guys have some more questions, yes, Motorola does make some DMR, but it's not going to have any simulcast issues. It's kind of like, God, if my friend Dale Osborne was watching, he works with Motorola, or Mother M as he calls it. DMR, I like to call DMR the sedan of digital systems. And Motorola P25 phase 1 and phase 2 is the Cadillac. It's got all the bells and whistles. The radios cost a crazy amount of money. You look at any of those Anytone radios that you use, you can get them for about $200 to $300. They've got DMR on it. Bridgecom Communications sells it, so it's relatively inexpensive. Those Motorola radios, $7,000 to $10,000 or more. That's why for these trunk systems, or for a city or town to go to a digital system for Mother M, you're going to pay a pretty decent price tag. It's going to be expensive. One portable radio, you think of it, that's thousands of dollars, where the Anytone is the sedan of it. We can get Anytone, like if you're a ham radio operator and you're using DMR for ham, you can get a relatively inexpensive rig. It's not going to cost you $8,000, thankfully. But yeah, that's basically, a lot of it is kind of that. Let's take a look at the slide deck. So we covered this, phase 1 and phase 2. Let's continue on. Oh, my word. I'm sure at Scanner Master, they get this question all the time. What is the best scanner for the money? Questions. So when I was working at Scanner Master full-time, I would ask, and I get this question a lot, what's the best scanner for the money? And I'll ask, what are you looking to listen to? And then what I would do is basically pull up radio reference. And I would say, matter of fact, I'll do it right in front of you guys right now so you can kind of see when you call Scanner Master, this should be what they're doing. I'm not working full-time at Scanner Master. I haven't been on the phones for years, but this is what I used to do. So I would be on the phone and I would say, all right, well, you're looking for the best scanner. What city are you from? And let's say they say Plymouth, Massachusetts. So, of course, me being from Massachusetts, I know that's in Plymouth County. So I would go here and click on the map. So we go to Massachusetts, and then we click on Plymouth County. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at city of Plymouth, because you said that you live in Plymouth. So I'm going to scroll all the way down. Of course, all the conventional stuff is in alphabetical order, which is nice. All right. If you're looking to just monitor Plymouth alone, an inexpensive scanner would be best. Look at this. It's all analog. You see over here in the mode column, it shows, a matter of fact, I'll go widescreen so you guys that are watching this on a smaller device are able to see. So you see in the mode column over here, right where my mouse is, That means all this stuff is analog. You don't really need a digital scanner. Here's all the frequencies here. Basically, Plymouth Police, the secondary channel, the fire, the secondary, and all that business. Even the public works is listed here. So if you were looking to monitor basically the city of Plymouth, this would be fine. Let's say if you wanted to monitor some surrounding towns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the county real fast. Rockland is P25, Situate, Bridgewater, Whitman. Let me go back up again from Plymouth. Norwell. Middleborough's got some DMR if you're interested in monitoring the public works. We've got Marshfield, PD, P25. We've got Hull. We got Hingham. Apparently Hingham's got a lot of money. They've got P25 for their for the light department as well. Let's see, East Bridgewater. So there's a good amount of P25 in Plymouth County. So this is where you kind of decide, do I go with an analog scanner, just a basic analog, inexpensive scanner? Eventually, Plymouth, the town of Plymouth, is going to eventually go to digital like a lot of its neighboring cities or towns. We see a trend there. A lot of the police departments have done it. So if you're into listening to the police, you're going to need probably a P25 radio in the future. I'm not seeing a lot of fire departments on P25. It's all analog from what I just a quick glance there. So maybe that analog radio will work a little bit longer for you because analog seems to be the trend for the fire departments. But if you're looking for police, that's certainly an issue. The other thing too is the state police as well. They're eventually going to be migrating over to a digital trunk system in Eastern Mass. Western Mass, they've already done it already. So that's another factor. If you're interested in the state police, you're definitely going to need at least an analog trunking scanner for the time being. And then down the road, you're going to need a digital trunking scanner. So these are a lot of options. It's basically based on what you're looking to monitor. If you told me you're looking to monitor railroads or of aviation, of course, our favorite that we talk about, the 125 AT is going to be the one that you want to take a look at. Let me just see what other things. But yeah, basically, I would say monitoring Plymouth right now, today, you could get by with an analog conventional scanner, something that's about 100 and some odd bucks. If you're looking to listen to any of the other towns that are digital, you're looking to spend, anywhere from $3 to the Cadillac of Unidin's product line, the SDS 100 or 200. So a lot of things to think about there. But that's basically how Scanner Master does it over the phone. When you call them, they're going to ask you where you're listening to, what do you want to listen to? And then they're going to go to radio reference if it's public safety stuff. And they're going to take a deep dive and take a look at it and say, well, if you're looking to monitor this and this and this, you can get by with this. But if you're looking to monitor this, you're going to need something a little bit more. So a lot of stuff to keep in mind there. Okay. So it depends. We get this question a lot. What coax cable do you recommend? Well, how far are you running this coax cable? If it's a short run, RG58, would be a good option. If it's a little bit of a longer run, maybe the RG8. And of course, if you're really concerned about signal loss, the LMR 400 is going to be your best friend. Now, keep in mind, the LMR 400 is going to make larger holes, and it's not so flexible. So you're going to have to make sure you allow for those turns. It's not going to turn on a dime, essentially. It's a stiff coax cable, so it's gonna curve, but it's not going to curve as easy as the RG58 or the RG8. So short run, you'll be okay with the 58. A little bit longer run, RG8. Maybe, I would say short or long, short runs, maybe 25 feet. Once you get into 50 feet, it's going to get a little bit, you definitely probably want to go to an RG8. But if you're concerned about signal loss, do LMR 400, for those longer runs. It's quite expensive. The other thing, as Joe M mentioned, which I've used this too, and this is a cable that you use typically for satellite, and it works really well, is the RG6 quad shield. That's certainly a good cable to go with as well. That would probably go in the section with the RG8. It's going to be basically a better cable than the RG58. So let's see. I think we've got a few more questions. I'm going to take a quick peek to see what we haven't answered as of yet. Let's see. I get this question a lot. Unfortunately, I've got too much on my plate in between producing shows, as you see me almost, every week, whether if you watch me on the Train Aficionado show, the Scanner Guys show. Right now, that's not at the top of the list to get a ham license eventually. At some point, maybe I'll definitely do that. But right now, I'm trying to produce, these shows for the Scanner Guys, Train Aficionado. Plus, I'm trying to get back into writing a weekly blog on Train Aficionado. I'm also have some other things that I'm working on as well. Radio Reference. Is it a paid site? Yes, for certain things. So if you don't want to see, let's say, ads on Broadcastify or hear them, Broadcastify and Radio Reference are basically paired together. A Radio Reference paid subscription would allow you to be able to do several things like print the database, in a nice format. The other thing too, it allows you, if you're using Butel software, to import the data into that database. So yes, there's paid. There's a portion of Radio Reference that's a paid site. Using the forums and looking at the database, you can look at that for free. You can even become a member of Radio Reference as a free member. And then if eventually you love the website and you want to keep it going, and of course you're starting to program on software and you want to be able to take advantage of the import capability, become a paid member. It's $15 for 6 months. It's $30 for a year. It's relatively inexpensive, and it's well worth the money. The other great thing about it is the number one source for frequencies. And it's probably the number one source for the hobby itself. So definitely consider checking out Radio Reference, become a free member, and then go from there. All right. So will all the DMR scanners work with the Unit and Sentinel software? I like to create favorites. Yes. So Sentinel software, there's two different Sentinel softwares. And I believe one of the Joes mentioned it with the shields. One's a green, one's a brown. Download the appropriate Sentinel software for your radio. And of course, you'll be able to import in or create a favorites list with those channels. Of course, if you try making a favorites list with those DMR channels and you don't have the DMR upgrade, yeah, it'll be in the favorites list, but it won't hear a thing. Basically, once you enable DMR with that upgrade, it'll hear everything. You'll hear that DMR channel. So, yes, that's for sure. SGS, what does the battery save? That I haven't really messed with. The battery save is probably going to kind of make it so it's not draining on that battery as much. I know probably Joe Bearcat can address that. I haven't used that because basically I try to do some of my own stuff to save on the battery myself, not have that backlight on all the time, not having the volume cranked all the way up. I try to conserve on the battery. The other thing too is I will typically plug in when possible. So, if I'm in the vehicle and I've got my SDS with me, I'll plug in the vehicle, so it'll draw off the car battery versus the internal battery. The other thing too is I do have a couple of batteries. Of course, those batteries can be purchased through Scanner Master if you need additional batteries for the SDS. I'm not too sure what stock looks like. Everybody's been experiencing the supply chain issues, so definitely keep that in mind. But yeah, battery save mode, I've used that occasionally on there, but typically I do my own battery save myself by just following a couple of key things. All right, let's see. Let me think of what else we can take a look here. So I know we're running up to the top of the hour. Typically, this show is probably a little special presentation, so we may go over a little bit of the hour, but I'm going to try not to. Question we get: how can I control my scanner from my phone? Now, of course, there's Pro Scan, and you can set up things with that. One of the radios that you can actually do it relatively quickly, if you got a 536 and you see a Wi-Fi dongle hanging off this 536, which comes included with the scanner. So if you purchase a 536, you get this Wi-Fi dongle. So basically what you do is you download the Unit and Bearcat Siren app, which will look just like these screenshots. And you can actually set it up so it'll communicate directly to the radio as its own hotspot. Or the more stable and the better is to set it up for your Wi-Fi network. So basically, you know how I was showing you earlier with the showing you this. So basically, if you download the Siren app and you've got the 536 and you get it all set up, you can use your smartphone to be able to control your radio and listen to the audio at the same time. You can do it within your Wi-Fi network, or you can communicate directly to the radio, but it's a short distance. With your Wi-Fi network, it's going to be the distance of your actual Wi-Fi network. So, basically it's going to cover your house, maybe a little bit of your backyard, your front yard, and pretty much about it, which is really cool. So with the Siren app, it looks very much like it turns that display. It looks very much like the Home Patrol 1 or 2. And it has the same feel because you can touch the screen just like a Home Patrol 1 and 2 on your phone or your iPad or your tablet or Android phone. It supports both Android and Apple products. So you'll be able to download the app, whatever you're using. And it'll just work. It works pretty well. There's a little bit of latency with it. Sometimes, it takes a second for the audio to match up with what's on the screen. But if you're looking for something like this, it works really well. I've seen other people use Pro Scan and they set it up so they can listen to their scanner outside of the house. So they can control the scanner remotely and listen to their scanner, on their iPhone outside of their house. It takes a little bit more technical stuff to be able to do that, which we're not going to dive into. But this is the quick and easy way with a 536. Multi-couplers. I actually have two multi-couplers down underneath here, and they work great. I actually have thankfully got a rooftop antenna out there. It works really well. I was impressed with it the other night. I was picking up something far away, and I was very impressed. So if you got one antenna and multiple radios, multi-coupler is great because what you can do is connect up the one antenna to the multi-coupler, and then you can put jumper cables to all the radios that you want connected to that antenna. The multi-couplers are by Strasberg, and they come in 4, 8, and 16. They're not cheap. The 4-port and the 8-port are reasonable. The 16-port is expensive. So if you're really, wanting to connect up 16 radios, it's going to have a hefty price tag. If you're looking for a more affordable, inexpensive option for using a multi-coupler, I would recommend the SP1300. It is not an amplified unit. It is basically distributing to scanner A and scanner B relatively easily and appropriately. Now, the great thing about the Stridesburg multicouplers, there's a preamp built into there. Anytime that you're adding additional connections, it will create signal loss. With the multicoupler, it's got the preamp in there. It's going to prevent the signal loss. The SDS 100 or 200 with the Siren app, as far as I know, I don't think you can relatively do it easily, if I remember correctly. I had a question about that. All right. So how can you increase the range of your scanner to here? Well, we kind of covered it tonight. We talked about the gentleman that's down in the basement with the bricks. So up and out is the best way. So, of course, getting an antenna up and out. If you're not able to get an antenna up and out, antenna by your window, something there. Even being able to put the antenna higher up on a bookshelf, on the top shelf, doing something like that. But yeah, the window is going to open up opportunity. It's not dealing with drywall and vinyl siding and brick or whatever it may be on the dwelling. Metal roofs raise havoc with a reception. So when you have a metal roof, you're going to have to up and out. So the things that we recommend: better antenna, better coax cable. Keep in mind, you don't want to buy the cheap coax cable. You're going to spend hundreds of dollars on an antenna, and you're going to buy the cheapest coax cable. Not a good thing, because the thing is, your antenna, as I've said a billion times over the phone when I worked at Scanner Master, is only as good as the coax cable leading up to it. So if you buy cheap coax cable, you've defeated the purpose of putting the antenna up on the roof. Let's say if you've got to run 50 feet and you put the cheap stuff, you may have mediocre performance. If you spend a little bit of money on the quad shield RG6 or RG8, or even go up to the LMR 400, you're going to be happy you did. Preamps certainly can help things. Keep in mind, preamps sometimes don't. For example, if you're dealing with a simulcast or anything like that, stay away from the preamps. Mentioned higher elevation, directional antennas, such as a beam antenna, which we see on the screen. That will be a huge help. You're aiming at the transmit site. So basically, it's going to focus on that. The other thing I would recommend with a beam antenna, if you remember back in the day when television antennas had a rotator, you can still purchase those. If you're able to spend a little bit extra money and put a rotator on that beam antenna, boy, you can have some fun. Basically, you could turn that antenna ever so slowly and get it pinned right perfectly with that site that you're looking to monitor. So if you're going to spend the money on a beam antenna, you may want to spend it on a rotator as well. Less adapters. I've seen people try to convert from an F connector to a B and C, and then they're trying to do it to an N connector. Try to get the coax cable with the appropriate connectors on there, so you're not having 3 connectors in order to get to the antenna or to the scanner. So every time you put a connector on, you're going to experience some signal loss. A lot of stuff there. Preamps, antennas, coax cable, and multicouplers all can be purchased from Scanner Master. Affiliate link down below. Cruise the website. If you purchase something from there, it helps our channel out. I do not work full-time anymore for Scanner Master. So anything that, you guys buying shirts and, of course, using that affiliate link greatly helps to put together the show each and every time we air it. All right, fun stuff before we wrap up things. So many of you look at the Ocean Spray cranberry sauce and wonder why the lip is on the top. Usually that's on the bottom of the can. So basically, that lip basically creates a bubble around the top of air. So when you open the can, you stick your knife in down around the sauce. It should pop right out. So tomorrow, give this a try. Open the can, take a knife, go around the edges, should pop right out. So cool little thing there. Thanksgiving by the numbers. Now, those of you that are counting calories, you may not want to look at the screen right now. Americans eat, yes, Americans eat 720 million pounds of turkey. That's 45 million birds that sacrifice their lives in Thanksgiving. All right, here's where you don't want to hear this. We eat an average of 4,500 calories on Thanksgiving. That's 159 grams of fat. Whew. And you wonder why the gyms are busy after the holidays. So tomorrow, when you have your Thanksgiving, wear comfortable pants. That's all I can say. Invented by accident. Now, many of you are probably familiar with those TV dinners. You know, it's quick and easy. But Swanson, in 1953, an employee ordered, look what he ordered, 260 tons of turkey. They didn't know what to do with it. Basically, the turkey was taking up space inside of refrigerated cars. And you know how big these refrigerated train cars are? 10 of them. 10 cars. So Swanson was like, I don't know what to do with this. So an employee suggested adding some sides and selling them. So the first year they did their TV dinners in 1953, they sold about 5,000 TV dinners. The next year, they sold 10 million. I hope that that employee that suggested that got a bump in pay. I don't know about that. You know how things work in this world, but I hope that they got a bump in pay. That was quite a $1 million idea, or in this case, $10 million. So crazy. Just pay that man or pay that lady. All right, we're going to wrap up things in a moment. I'm going to check to see if there's any more questions. But I think, we'll go through a couple of slides and we'll see what happens from there. So start your shopping. Support of course, the scanner guys. Down in the description, there's a link to the website. Go to the website, thescannerguyshow.com. Go to the store on the website and put in Turkey Drop is the promo code, and you get 10% off the apparel on the website. Yes, t-shirts, hoodies, our long sleeve shirts, all that. Put in that coupon code and save. Great segue. So the show is brought to you by viewers like you. Basically, you guys shopping the merch store, watching this show each and every week. If you're watching on the rebroadcast, you see those ads. We get a little bit of money from those ads as well. And of course, the affiliate link. So you purchasing things through Scanner Master using the affiliate link helps us out. We greatly appreciate that. And I can't express how much, I appreciate that. It allows us to be able to, make improvements such as, getting a new microphone or a stream deck, and some other equipment that we've purchased to make the broadcast better. We really do appreciate it. And I thank you so much. And of course, Scanner Master with the affiliate link certainly helps out things as well, being able to purchase things through there. We also have a sale for the scanner for Train Aficionado. Same promo code. If you're a fan of Train Aficionado, check out the store. It's 10% off our apparel. It's good through now until Cyber Monday. So purchase it over the weekend. Help us out. We're going to be doing some big stuff, hopefully next year with Train Aficionado. I want to do some big things next year with Train Aficionado and also with the Scanner guys. But it's going to take some money to be able to do it. So hopefully We can generate enough funds to be able to do some stuff that's going to be traveling, doing some other cool stuff where we broadcast remotely. There's a lot of stuff that I want to do in 2023. I want to take this show to new heights. Both shows, actually, the Scanner Guys and Train Aficionado. So speaking of Train Aficionado, we'll be back on Wednesday, December 7th with a live show. So definitely tune in, subscribe to the channel as well. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So definitely hop over to that channel and subscribe there. Next Scanner Guys show will be the following week, which is December the 14th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. You realize I didn't say Wednesday, November the 30th. I'm actually taking that week off. So I'll be back, with Train Aficionado the first Wednesday of December. Second Wednesday will be the Scanner Guys. And we hope you guys join us then for that as well. As always, follow, like, and subscribe to our social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at the Scanner Guys. Shop the Scanner Guys show website for any of the swag that we talked about tonight. And of course, you can contact us by dropping us an email through the website and sign up for our newsletter. We're certainly appreciating you guys signing up for the newsletter. If you're driving, or doing a road trip this weekend, traveling to those loved ones, abide by the speed limit. Police will be out on a holiday weekend at full force. You do not want to get yourself a gift certificate from another state, and it will be a hefty gift certificate. And you'll have to pay them for that gift certificate. You don't want to do that. So make sure you abide by the speed limit and take your time and allow yourself some extra time as well. All right. I think we've got everything. Is there any new questions that came in? I don't think so, but I'll double check. We'll take a quick gander. Dale, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Hopefully we'll have you on soon. I was almost tempted to have you on tonight, but I know you're at the mother-in-law's, I believe. And thank you so much for all the people for the happy Thanksgiving wishes. We certainly appreciate that. We're really looking forward to to Thanksgiving tomorrow. I've got a pumpkin pie with my name on it. Also a cherry pie too. So, and we're going to have a traditional Thanksgiving. So it'll be the turkey stuffing, sides. Last year, I didn't end up doing the traditional Thanksgiving. So this year we're doing the traditional Thanksgiving. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, enjoying a long holiday weekend. So those of that are off tomorrow, Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Enjoy it. If you are working, thank you so much for being there for us. I appreciate those people that have to work in the holidays and what have you. I've done that before, so I really appreciate it. Thank you to all of you that watched this evening. We really appreciate it. Keep watching. We got some good stuff coming up. We really appreciate you, every one of you that are watching the show. All the great questions tonight. Oh, jeez. Dale. We appreciate all of you watching. I can't say enough about, of course, I have my family here, but I also have my Scanner Guys family, which all of you are part of. And of course, we have our Train Aficionado family, which I appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you all have a happy and safe holiday. If you're watching us outside of the United States, be safe out there. Enjoy your weekend that's coming up, and we'll catch you again in December. So have a good night. I'm Jonathan Higgins of the Scanner Guys. We'll talk to you again soon.